All right, welcome to Big Apple Banter. This is our post Super Bowl show.
Yo,
So,
yo.
a lot to get into, Frankie. How you doing this week to start off?
I'm doing pretty good, dude. Yeah, that Super Bowl was freaking dud, dude. What the hell was that?
Yeah, it was pretty disappointing. I mean, my team I was rooting for won. So
Yeah, I actually, you know what's funny? I actually placed a bet on that game. I
for
placed
real?
a teaser. Yeah, when I hung out with a buddy at a little group gathering, and I placed a little bet, and didn't come through. I covered. I took Tampa +10 in this little teaser, and then I had the over at 49. I was just shy. I was kind of, who would have thought that Kansas City would have scored a freaking touchdown?
Uh,
What?
exactly, and that's why I don't understand this week. They're giving, to a sense, they're giving Patrick Mahomes a pass on the game. Yeah, his turf toe and his concussion, whatever. But they were saying he was trying to make all these plays, these diving plays. But you know what? You didn't score a touchdown, so he didn't have that great of an
He looked
effort.
like Josh Allen. You could have put the Bills out there.
For real, it would have made a difference.
It literally looked like Josh Allen. It literally looked like what Kansas City did to Josh Allen in the AFC Championship game, running back freaking 10, 15, 20 yards. I mean, the only difference was that, and everybody's like, calling him a hero and whatnot for all of his efforts.
Oh,
Mahomes. What was it? Dave Rothenberg has Canty. Michael K, even Max Kellerman, a lot of people are coming out and praising Mahomes. And don't get me wrong, he's a hell of an athlete. He made some crazy
yeah.
throws, and his receivers let him down. But you can't keep running back. And he had no time. His receivers weren't getting open. Obviously they dropped a lot of passes, but I don't know. Mahomes did not look comfortable at all from the beginning of the game at all, and nobody made adjustments. He didn't make adjustments. Andy Reid, the coaching side, nobody, nothing,
No,
nothing.
and of course they blame the offensive line. The left tackle missing, and you know what? All those guys are a bunch of fanboys. At the end of the day, yeah, we've been amazed by Patrick Mahomes since he came in the league. I mean, it's 3 years in the league, and he's been to the Super Bowl 2 out of the 3 years. So of course you think this is the greatest thing since sliced bread you've ever seen. So when he does lose a game, you try to make excuses for him. Oh, he played hero ball. His team let him down. This, that, and the other thing.
This is the worst game of his career ever. And what are the chances it happens on the biggest stage, in the biggest game?
And there you go. Tom Brady gets his seventh
All right.
ring.
So I'm watching the Honda game. The Islanders just scored.
Oh yeah, they winning or losing now.
No, they're winning now. But yeah,
There you go.
and can't everything that went wrong or could have
All
gone
right.
wrong for Kansas City did go wrong. They took enormous penalties after penalties. A PI, at the end of the half. It's just for so many silly penalties. Even the offsides on the field goal, which led them to score another touchdown. It's just they played their worst game of the season,
And they picked
and
the
probably under
perfect time to
Patrick
do
Mahomes.
so.
What?
They picked the perfect time to do so.
Yeah, dude. It's just uh, I don't know, and I can't. I can't give Patrick Mahomes the praise because he had to come up
Oh,
big. And everybody, and look, so he didn't have his left and right tackle, right? His starting left and right tackle. So look, is that what we're gonna say? So is he not a good quarterback now? I mean, I know we're not gonna base that off one game, but it was the biggest game of his career, or the biggest game of his career at that moment. But now you could say, put another quarterback in that situation, and they're probably gonna talk trash about that quarterback because it's Mahomes and he made all this crazy effort. And don't get me, we'll say this again, he made hell of a throws, but he put, you know, running sideways, running back. I don't know what he was doing out there. You
it's
usually
probably
find receivers too, but not in that game.
no. And if you look at it, maybe you look back at it in the future and you say, this is a good thing because everyone is giving him nothing but praise and just gushing over how great he's been. So the fact that he had a disappointing showing and the biggest game of them all, maybe people will calm down a bit and stop saying this guy's the greatest thing ever. I
Yeah,
mean, the other guy just won a championship at 43 years old, first year on a new team, no preseason. He wins
yeah.
the Super Bowl.
He slayed Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, and Patrick Mahomes in his last three games.
And Taylor Heineke,
Yeah, and if you think about it, they probably put up
he
the
did.
hardest game, right?
He did. He put up the most yards against that defense.
It's crazy. So, eh, And also Patrick Mahomes, he was also they barely blitzed. They blitzed him like 5 times. They really sent an extra man. So for him to drop back all those times, what he had the most dropbacks in Super Bowl history, right? That's what happened.
Yeah, and the way Brady has always been, that's why he's so clutch and is so good. He gets rid of the ball instantaneously. He's like 3 second drop, he gets rid of it no matter what. He finds an open receiver.
And that's usually kind of
Mahomes
what
didn't
you
do
see
that.
from Mahomes, but none of his receivers and him were on the page. He threw the wide receiver just kept going on the left, and then he threw it behind him, was almost picked off. They were just nobody was clicking. They didn't even make any adjustments, even going to the second half. It was just ridiculous, dude. I did not see them not even scoring one touchdown.
And people, they tried to get into the head of what went wrong exactly, and they brought up the fact that Andy Reid's son was involved in that car accident. Maybe that was on his mind, stuff like that. It might have been other things that going on behind the scenes. So I mean that stuff goes on all the time, and you don't hear about it. You just happen to hear about that story.
Yeah,
So you got to
yeah,
give Tampa Bay credit. I mean, Todd Bowles, former Jets head coach, he shut down that offense.
yeah.
Everything he called turned it up aces.
Yeah, he definitely he had a game plan. He made big time adjustments compared to what happened on week 12, and there was no way he was going to let Tyreek Hill go off like he did, like he did in the first half. And actually, if you want to go back to that game, which you and I were kind of digging into on one of our shows before the Super Bowl, we said how they kind of shut them out, towards the second half because they killed them in the first half, but came time in the second half the Tampa Bay Bucks, they made adjustments and they held Casey to respectable maybe like 10 points, maybe if that
Mm-hmm.
I don't exactly remember, but they didn't go off. But I know they didn't even score in the fourth, so maybe they scored like as many as 7-3 or something like that. They didn't really have a crazy third quarter. So they whatever that happened, whatever the adjustments they made week 12 in that game, it carried over to the Super Bowl.
And you gotta love when the game was, the game wasn't in doubt anymore. When Anton Winfield was doing the piece and Tyreek Hill taunting him a bit, that was pretty entertaining because Tyreek Hill's kind of a d bag, so it was nice that he did that to him.
Dude, when I saw that, I was like, "Oh my god!" I'm like, "No way you're doing that to him! Like that's crazy." But yeah, I didn't realize Tyreek did that to him early in the season, and I was kind of like hating on the guy for doing that to Tyreek. But then when I realized he did it early in the season, I'm like, "All right, you kind of deserve that."
And Tyreek, that's his thing. He does that to most DBs when he burns them. He does the peace sign. So
Yeah.
that was pretty nice. And you know what? It wasn't irresponsible because the game was put away essentially at that point, so it wasn't a big deal. But you know what? Yeah, that game was an absolute.
That's the biggest disappointment in it
manhandling.
all, bro. This game had so much hype, and it did not even live up to it. And
But
that's the
does
biggest
anything
disappointment.
does anything ever actually live up to the hype? Usually,
I guess not.
very rarely. A lot of things usually fall short of expectations because everyone builds this up to be, obviously these two great quarterbacks, the future and the past,
Right?
and
Yeah,
then
I
the
guess
defense. They forget about the defense.
I wish we had, if you want, we could take a little break and then get into that. We could look at last Super Bowls to see what the matchups were and what the expectations could it be going into those matchups.
Okay.
All right, yeah, all right. We'll take a little break and let's get into that. All right, and we're back. We're back with those Super Bowl matchups. So now we're gonna dive into hype was real or duds. Hype gone wrong basically. So going into this Super Bowl, obviously this Super Bowl, the hype was Mahomes versus Brady. It was supposed to be a shootout, baby goat versus the goat, and we didn't get that. Expectations did not live up to that hype. So now we're gonna
Nope.
go back. Last year, was the hype going into that game? Chiefs versus 49ers.
It was the hype was there was hype because of the storyline of Andy Reid and Mahomes' first Super Bowl, or Andy Reid hopefully winning that first Super Bowl because he's been to a couple, and that was mostly the headline. And then Jimmy G, being traded away from New England, he has his first full season there, and they have a great defense, and he gets to the Super Bowl, but then he's mostly a game manager. And the Chiefs finally turn it on in the fourth quarter, and they win the
Super Bowl
game.
champion Jimmy Garoppolo, by the way.
Yeah, as a bench player.
So the year before that, it probably should have been Super Bowl for the ages if the Drew Brees and the Saints would have got in, with
Yeah.
that freaking PI call. So New England and the Rams, there was no hype there.
No, I mean the hype was, it was the returning to the scene of the crime. That was where Brady, that was the first team he played in his first Super Bowl back in 2001 and beat, Kurt Warner and the greatest show on turf. And he beat them up, and they had a last-second field goal by Vinatieri. So the fact that it was nostalgia, him playing the first team, they faced the Super Bowl, that was mainly the storyline. And then, Jared Goff and Sean McVay being these young, up-and-coming hot shots, see if they could take down the bad boys in Belichick and Brady. So it was all right. It was like, I'd say like medium hype, but nothing too big on that.
All right, so then the year before that, Philly and New England. There should have been a lot of hype because Carson Wentz, and if Carson Wentz had not gone down, he would have been, he would have been the MVP easily. He was the favorite for that season. He was on fire. So, I mean, who knows if he would have led them to the Super Bowl, but let's just say hypothetically he did. It would have been Wentz and then Brady. So that game could have had the hype. Even though it didn't have the hype going into it, it turned out to be a hell of a game.
Yeah, it was that David versus Goliath, scenario with Nick Foles, the backup, being on multiple teams, trying to resurrect his career, going against the GOAT and Belichick. And they put on a show, and they have a lot of trickery. What's it called? That one play.
The Philly special.
Yeah, the Philly special. So all the trickery, and it led to a shocking upset win and the Philadelphia Eagles' first Super Bowl win ever. So yeah, there was a storyline there.
They have a statue of Nick Foles outside the stadium, don't they?
Do they? Is it like the Rocky statue?
I don't know exactly. I believe they do. And then so after that, then you had New England and Atlanta. Could have been a little hype. Not so much hype really though.
Yeah, I lost money on this game. Yeah.
But it turned out to be a game of the ages for Brady.
That was.
Is that? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but was that the Deflategate?
No.
No.
Deflategate was the Seattle New England Super Bowl.
That was that one. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I figured. Okay.
So no, that game was I don't know. I don't remember who they beat specifically to get in that game. I don't know if it was Denver or Indianapolis.
But either way, so that yeah.
But anyway,
was, not so much hype. But then the year before that, that was Seattle and Denver. That game had a lot of hype. Wilson. No,
that was Carolina and Denver. The year before that, 2015.
Yeah. I missed right.
Yeah, that was some hype because was Peyton Manning, even though you're struggling,
and Cam Newton's MVP year.
Right, and Peyton Manning was basically finished at that point. So it was that how great that defense could he carry the old man Manning to a Super Bowl win against Cam Newton, who had a great season, like you said, MVP season.
Yeah,
and so that was pretty exciting.
Yeah, I mean, the Carolina Panthers didn't even really come out to play in that. They didn't really show up.
No, and I remember Cam got killed because it was a play where he fumbled the ball and he didn't even go after the fumble. He kind of just moved around it and let all the offensive linemen get in there.
I was really pulling for Carolina in that game. It's too bad we didn't see a better game, and that's kind of what we're talking about. Just games that had somewhat of a good hype going into it that failed to meet up to its expectations.
Yeah, they went 15-1 that year, the Panthers.
Yep, and then the previous one before that was the New England Seattle, so that's the Deflategate. And
I can't believe it was that long ago, dude.
Yeah, so that game, of course, had a lot of hype going into it because it was Seattle looking to go for back-to-back chips, and they should have had it if they didn't throw it on the 1 yard line.
So terrible. He's Russell Wilson trying to make him the hero, throwing it to Tyler Lockett. Or no, Ricardo Lockett, not Tyler Lockett.
No, you're right.
Malcolm Butler. Lockett. No, Tyler Lockett was number 16. The Lockett was Ricardo Lockett, who was 83. He was a journeyman slot receiver.
Oh, really?
Malcolm Butler jumps the route. He notices it off the bat, jumps around, picks him off. That was very, that was definitely a hype game. I think that lived up to the hype. I mean, the outcome sucked.
It definitely did. Yeah, the outcome. I mean, if you're Pete Carroll, obviously, if you're Seattle fans and Pete Carroll, everybody wants a time machine to go back to that game and definitely.
You can never forgive him for that.
I don't know how you don't. To this point, everybody's been like, "How do you not run that ball in with Marshawn?" And yeah, I guess, and then the one before that, previous one, Seattle, Denver.
Denver.
I guess that was Peyton Manning's first Super Bowl with
Yeah,
Denver.
that had big hype going in, and right off the bat with that bad snap for safety, it was just downhill from there. 43-7 final score. Very it was just a pitiful performance. They couldn't get anything going. They had Percy Harvin starting off the second half with a return touchdown. It was
Yeah,
just nothing but
what a
snow.
dominating performance. The Legion of Boom, it was the beginning of that. And yeah, as you said, the game just, and when games start off like that, you kind of just know it's just not in it for them in that game. And that's kind of what
Oh.
sucks about all or nothing games. It'd be kind of interesting to see if it was like a best 2 out of 3 in a way, even though I know, they complain how they're, the excuse me, the
Yeah,
athletes can't take it, but I know it makes it a lot more excitement to the game when it's all or nothing. But damn, it just sucks if you don't show up like Chiefs
that's
didn't.
it.
It sucks. It's it. As I said, it's it.
And
But
who's
no,
before that?
I guess this really hurts Mahomes' chance to catch Brady and being the GOAT. Now he's got to chase 7. Now he's got 6 more.
Yeah, it looks certainly out of reach at this point. I mean, I won't doubt Mahomes. Obviously, he's great, but trying to catch up by hitting 6, and in the rest of his career, that's a big task to climb, no doubt.
Yeah, dude. I mean, definitely to get to 6 was one thing. Now he has to get to 7, so he has to win 6 more now. I mean, don't get me wrong. They're a talented team, but they're gonna have interchangeable parts, going,
Hmm?
years in and years out. But I mean, when you have the stable, when you have that quarterback, you're gonna be in good hands. But they have to protect them because now, obviously now you're seeing quarterbacks demanding, starting to make their demands. Russell Wilson just
Mm.
came out, expressed his feelings with his offensive line, his frustrations. So there's a lot of yeah, a lot of interchangeable parts going on in the NFL now.
Yeah, it could be a very crazy offseason to say the least.
But Brady, go status. You saw him throw the Lombardi.
Yeah, throwing it to Gronk, and then being carried by some guy totally hammered, shit faced. It was pretty funny to see. You never see that in New England, the Patriot way,
It's like military style, of course.
Yeah,
Yeah, now he's free to do what he wants, and you know what? I can't wait to get into. I don't know if you want to do it. We can just do it now, or we could break off for a little bit and get into that go conversation. Bill or Bill
yeah.
or
I was just gonna
Brady.
say, mostly why I rooted for Brady. I wanted Belichick to look like an absolute clown, and he does.
Yeah, so we'll towel off and then we'll get into that little debate.
All right, you're still recording.
And we're back.
All right, so let's kind of put this whole thing in a bow here. Let's talk about the GOAT. Who's better, obviously, Belichick or Brady? From the last segment, I just said, Belichick's a clown. And I've always hated that guy. He's a cheater. He's a miserable looking person. And Brady won a Super Bowl first year away from him at 43
Yeah,
years old. So
exactly.
he looks,
His first year with Tampa, as you stated earlier, no TAs, no preseason. Barely getting to. He was getting criticized for working at high schools. With his new teammates, trying to get acclimated to the new system and everything. And you know what? It took them a while, even during the regular season. They were having a lot of hiccups throughout the season. It probably didn't take them until about midway, about maybe even 2/3 of the season, where they finally they looked like everybody was kind of on the same page and the chemistry was finally all built up. And they really turned it on in the playoffs. Exactly when it mattered most. When you have Tom Brady and his intelligence at the realm, it's easy. There's everybody would always say, put Aaron Rodgers, with Bill, and they probably win 6. You can't necessarily say that. You don't know, because and this all goes back, to you and I. Honestly, as you just said, you're rooting for Brady.
yeah.
We know Brady's the GOAT because we've seen what he can do. He takes his teams, just going to a whole new team, bringing in people. Retired Gronk, dismayed freaking Antonio Brown, and look what they do. They're the both contributors to that success. Everybody who wasn't on the team last year contributed to their success. Brady, Gronk, Brown. It was simple. Raise the goat.
He is, and I was listening to Michael K show earlier this week, and Don LaGreca was saying how, yeah, Brady's the GOAT, but he's not the most talented quarterback I've ever seen, and I think that's true too. I
Yeah,
would still say Rodgers is more talented than him.
and as we've seen, he
Mahomes,
seems to
plenty
be
of
more
quarterbacks,
talented than the both.
but when you mix it all in, there's a factor there that doesn't show on the field. Whether it's just that hope that he gives his teammates because he's been there, done that, and they just never doubt his ability to get the job done. So maybe it's a mental thing too. A lot of it is mental. I mean, most of sports is mental, their ability. So I think, yeah, it's other intangibles in play there,
I don't know how
and
he does
it
it.
works
I
for him.
really don't know. At 43 years old, the guy goes to a new team, puts the team on his back. He brings a whole new culture to Tampa Bay, and they do it in their first year. It just goes to it just lump sum. You could see it. I mean, Bill did a hell of a job in New England. Don't get me wrong. He had a crap team and he won 7 games. So imagine if he had like a decent quarterback. They probably win like 10 games. So you
Yeah,
also
a
got to
couple.
hand it to Bill a little bit, but at the end of the day, Brady's the one executing the plays, making the throws.
Mhm.
His IQ on the field of when to throw the ball, when not to throw the ball, who to throw the ball to. He reads the defense like no other quarterback can. And I thought Mahomes was kind of like that guy, but he did not show it in that game. So Mahomes has a lot to prove if he wants to be close to the Brady conversation. I mean, obviously, talent alone, Mahomes has it,
He's better.
but to win, as many, you know, it's hard to win one. He's got one. And now it's hard to win two. Breeze doesn't have two, right? He just has one.
Nope, just 2009,
Rodgers has one.
2010. Yep.
So all these guys only have one, and Brady's the one guy. I mean, Roethlisberger has two, and it's
Yep.
funny he's not even the talents of Rodgers or Breeze. So, and then Manning, he's got two, not near the
Both
talents of those
Mannings.
guys.
Yeah.
So, exactly. But Peyton Manning had both talents. Yet when he won his second, he was just a freaking passenger. So, at the end of the day, Tom Brady, he's been in the best shape of his career almost, and he's playing like it practically at 43. So this guy's like fine wine, just getting better with age almost. It's crazy.
True. I mean, he looks like he could pass for 33.
I mean, if you kind of
It's
if you kind of think about it, he's 43 years old. He's got all this talent, so he's not even like prime Brady, right? So he's 43. Imagine prime Brady,
Brian
So
Brady would be what, 2007, going up to Randy Moss
yeah,
in
that's
that
what
perfect
I'm saying.
season.
So imagine a prime Brady doing all this, and you're seeing this from a 43-year-old Brady. So I think the conversation's over. That's squashed. So that's gonna end it for tonight. Thanks, y'all. Appreciate y'all. Catch us at Gmail. So Big Apple Banter 9495 at gmail.com. Catch us on Twitter, Facebook. If you ever want to be a part of the show, email us. We appreciate it. Subscribe. We appreciate that also. Thanks, guys. Have a good night, yo. Talk to you soon, bro.
Take it easy.